I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm taking the taboos of menopause and perimenopause and bringing light to the dark. No bullshit, no shame. It's time for us to gain a new paradigm in female health, out with the old and in with the new, and I'm bringing fresh perspectives from someone in the arena. I've been practicing women's health for nearly 20 years, and I'm spilling the tea on what it means to live at midlife, knowing that the best is yet to come. I'm sharing my Gen X approach to living through this transition. Sassy, a bit sweary, and always honest. Tactical tips and instantly usable information is my aim. I hope to make you laugh and that you learn something new that helps you embrace the change. Together, we bring power to the peri. Onward to the podcast. You're tuned in to the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this past week I got to host some of you in a group call where I was introducing my brand new program called the Menopause Doula Certification. And in this webinar, I got to introduce the importance of the role of the menopause doula and what the doulas will bring to the community. We are desperately in need of guidance and counsel, wise counsel, that is women in perimenopause and menopause. And quite frankly, the systems that are currently in place are failing us terrifically. So I have opened a school where I'm teaching the Menopause Doula Certification. The Menopause Doula Council.com is the place you can go to sign up for the webinars. I did one last Wednesday, that was November 12th, and the second one will be this coming Wednesday, November 19th, and that one is going to be at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Yes, if you sign up, you will get the replays. I know that's everybody's question. It's always mine too, because if it happens to be on a day I'm working, I'm not going to make it live. But I want to share something special with you today. I'm going to share the replay of last week's webinar so you can hear the statistics around how women are desperately in need of care and just how many of us around the world are going through the menopause transition. That number will surprise you, so stay tuned. And just the foundation of the Menopause Doula Certification, which I created, it's called the Menopause Doula Matrix. I go through the matrix in the webinar, and I talk about the different pieces, pillars, if you will, that make up the landscape of a woman's health at midlife. Now, if you want the visuals on this, go to menopausedoulacouncil.com and sign up for the replays. Then you can see the video of the audio that you're about to listen to. And if you have questions about this, please email us at admin@drlovely.com, and either me or someone from my team, that's Team Lovely. I'm so proud of them. They've done so much work on this beautiful program that I'm so excited to share with you now. And I've started to hear back from some of you right away, actually, after the webinar was done. I started to get messages and emails saying you guys are really excited about this offering. And I couldn't be more thrilled to bring it to you. And I'm going to say the thing now that I say at the very end of this webinar, so you get to hear it twice, and it goes like this. This is an incredibly powerful statement, so I want you to feel it in your bones. When you tend to yourself and you teach others how to tend to themselves, that's an act of rebellion against the systems that have oppressed us for generations, the systems that still want us frail and demented and not able to share our wisdom. And that is my call to you. If something in you just resonated with what I just said, please listen to this episode in its entirety. Please pop over to menopausedoulacouncil.com and get on the email list so you'll get the news about the program. And for sure, join me on November 19th at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for a webinar where I go deeper into what the Menopause Doula Certification looks like. I'm Dr. Fiona Lovely, and this is my great pleasure to bring you this program. I can't wait to hear what you think about this episode. Please email us, drop me a note on Instagram. That's at Dr. Fiona Lovely. You can drop me a note on TikTok as well. That's at Dr. Fiona Lovely, one word. I can't wait to hear from you. Thanks for listening. Today's episode is sponsored by Berkeley Life, an innovative health brand dedicated to helping women feel vibrant at every stage of life. Now, you've heard me say this before, but it's worth repeating. Menopause isn't just about hormones. Circulation and nitric oxide play a massive role in how we feel day to day. When nitric oxide levels decline, our blood flow slows down, which can affect everything from energy and focus to intimacy and comfort. Berkeley Life recently ran a 60-day pilot study with women taking their nitric oxide supporting supplement, and the results were incredible. 75% of the women in the study reported improved desire, 75%. 83% experienced enhanced orgasm and comfort, and over half noticed better natural lubrication. Wow, yes please. These are the kinds of changes that happen when we support healthy blood flow and oxygen delivery throughout the body. It's not just about one system, guys. It's about the whole you. I love sharing tools that help women thrive. That's what this whole entire show is about. And Berkeley Life is doing just that. Learn more and explore their nitric oxide supporting supplements at berkeleylife.com. That's BerkeleyLife.com. Thanks, Berkeley Life. Hey, everybody. Wonderful to see everybody. And I'm just so grateful to you for spending time with me today. I want to deliver the goods for you today so that we can move forward in a way that's the most supportive for women. And as I get further into my perimenopause, almost menopause, I recognize the need for us wise women to step forward and serve. So if we can, please take 3 breaths together. I'd love that so that you can hear me and I can tune into you. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your lower belly. And I want you to breathe in through the nose for the count of 4. Out through the mouth for the count of 8. In for 4. And out for 8. Let's do one more together. In for 4. Out for 8. Thank you. So I'm really aware that what we're doing today is what women have done for millennia, which is to come together and weave wisdom and knowledge, culture, and families together. And this has been missing for us. And so it's time. It's time to start it up again. Okay, some of you I know in person. Most people don't know me in person. Maybe you've heard me on the podcast, the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. 10 years I've been doing the show. I was the menopause podcasting OG. And there was nobody else in the category when I started the show. Now, some 10 years and 3 million downloads later, lots of people know of me in the show. And so if you're a listener of the show, I just want to express gratitude to you because I feel like I'm talking to you every single time I flip on the mic. So thank you for listening. I am, of course, a clinician. I am a menopause doula. We're going to talk about that a little more. And as I said, the host of the Menopause, Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. And I created the Menopause Doula Council. I'm the founder of that. And that is the governing body for the menopause doulas. Before we get to this particular slide, I'm just going to come back in and have a look at you guys and tell a story. So I want to tell you the story. I am the accidental menopause doula. And when I was a newly minted chiropractor, that is my professional designation. If that's a surprise to you, I apologize ahead of time. I'm just as surprised about it as you are. When I was in my first few weeks of practice, I had a woman come to see me who was in her 40s and suffering from low back pain. And when I was working on her back, on her spine, she would tell me about the other things that were going on with her. Now, she had a young child with her. I'm going to guess he was about 3, maybe 4. So the child was with her, and she was telling stories of how she was not sleeping at night. She had terrible vaginal dryness. She was very irritable. She just was not having a great time. She had sore shoulders. Her low back was sore, which of course why she came to see me. So I gave her the time. I told her what was going on with her. We didn't know it as perimenopause at the time. We didn't even have that language then. So I told her she was premenopausal, which was true, and that the hormone fluctuations that she was experiencing as a woman in her 40s and recently postpartum was actually causing the symptoms that she was having. And she said, my doctor just dismisses me. And I understood that. So as I said, we didn't have the word for perimenopause at the time, but we have that language now. I didn't know that an experience I had a few years before I met this patient, this beautiful woman, that I was having my own experience by being gaslit by my gynecologist as a woman in my 20s. And I had shown up with precancerous cells on my cervix. My GP sent me to the gynecologist. I asked the gynecologist, said, isn't this strange that this just shows up out of nowhere? And could it be related to the birth control pill? And she said, absolutely not. Just like that, straight. I'll never forget it. And every single cell in my body said that she was wrong and my instincts were right. Now, it would take science quite a few years to show that that is exactly true, that my instincts were correct. And the doctor was, I don't want to say ill-informed, but she never even gave it the opportunity for it to be anything other than what she learned in school, unfortunately. So that experience galvanized me. And so when I went to school to become a chiropractor, which I'd wanted to do most of my life, I took as much training as I could on women's health. I took extracurricular seminars of every kind because I never, ever, ever wanted to feel disempowered like that in front of my doctor. I never wanted to have that experience again. Nobody was going to tell me what was going on with my body. I was going to go and find out. By the way, as soon as I stopped the birth control pill, precancerous cells on my cervix stopped. So there you go. Okay. It took me a while to feel like I wasn't playing hooky from chiropractic every time I talked to a woman about her hormonal symptoms. But as a new chiropractor, I had lots of time and lots of information. And so I was just happy to talk to whoever was in the office with me. And this patient was so grateful. And she said to me, she said, you are the first one who has listened. And I never forgot the feeling of her. She stays with me to this day, some 20 years later. Anyways, it took me a while before I was able to integrate spinal health and women's health. And if you've seen me in the office, you know this is how I operate now, 20 years later. What I didn't recognize was the volume of women that needed help. Guys, I was barely 30 myself when this experience happened. And I just didn't recognize how many women were needing help and guidance at menopause in the perimenopausal era as we know it now. And I'll break down some definitions here in a minute. I just didn't recognize the volume of women that would actually need the help. And I do now. So I answered the call. If you know me, you know I call it the call from the goddess. The goddess called and I answered the phone. And here we are having this conversation where an entirely new discipline of coaching and helping and supporting and advocating for women is emerging from this work. So follow your instincts, I guess. Follow your curiosity. Okay, I'm going to share a slide again because I want to talk about the importance of this work, why we do it. So this conversation matters because 1 in 5 people on the planet right now is a woman in the menopause transition. You will hear me use the words perimenopause and menopause transition interchangeably. They are the same thing. So, menopause transition is what it's referred to in the medical literature and the research papers, and perimenopause is a more colloquial term, if you will. Okay, 1.7 billion women over the age of 40 on the planet. 90% of us have experienced the symptoms associated with menopause. So 1 in 3 of us will have the brain symptoms of menopause. This is one of the most misunderstood parts of the menopause transition and something I'm deeply passionate for. I didn't mention this up top, but I suppose I should. My fellowship training is in functional neurology. So women's brains are of the utmost importance to me. So if you have listened to the show or seen my other content, you know I like to talk about women's brain health. Somebody's got to talk about it, right? So 3 in 4 of us have the brain symptoms of menopause, and 40% of our lifetime is spent postmenopausal, essentially ignored by Western medicine. Now, the doctors are not bad. That's not what I'm saying. They're just trained in a system that was created for men by men with the assumption that women are little men. Okay, so it's just an old system. It's changing. It's just a really big ship, and it takes a long time for it to turn around. Okay. Part of interviewing the guests that I have on the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast, I get to speak to gynecologists and other women health specialists from around the world. And they are beautiful people that are trying so hard to make change. And so we're all just the drop in the pond, but eventually there'll be enough of us and massive shift will happen. Okay. So 1 in 5 gynecologists is trained in menopause care. So let's talk about that for a second. Gynecologists are the ones that are designated as the women's health specialists in Western medicine or traditional medicine. So here in Calgary, you're talking at least a year to get in to see a gynecologist, and then only 1 in 5 of them feels confident enough. Now, this is by their own survey, feels trained enough and confident enough to guide women to treatment during menopause, whether that's HRT or something else. So we have a real need for care, very desperate need for care. So I'm going to tell a story about a patient of mine. I heard this story recently, and I don't know, maybe she's in the room. We'll see. So this patient of mine waited over a year, referred by her GP to see a gynecologist. And when she got to see the gynecologist, she said, okay, I've got insomnia, vaginal dryness, sadness, muscle aches and pains. And she came to ask for HRT because this patient is a very aware person and she's aware of the research that is showing the data that is literally backing up at the moment that's saying, hey, we start HRT early. We start it before the periods stop for the best support of brain, bones, and heart, not just treatment of symptoms. So she said this to the gynecologist, and the gynecologist said, well, my college, okay, so her governing body says I can only prescribe hormones if you have hot flashes and you haven't had a period in a while. Cheryl, I can see your face. Thank you. So it's just one of those things. So my patient says, I have to have hot flashes in order for you to give me HRT. And the gynecologist says, yes. And my patient says, hey, doc, I forgot to tell you, I have hot flashes. And the doctor went, okay, let me write you a prescription for HRT. These are the kinds of games we have to play, unfortunately. So, as I said, the research is really clear here. We want interventions early for the best protection of brain, bones, and heart, and other things too, but those are really the things that we have data on at this point. Okay, so 20% of gynecologists, women's health specialists, are qualified. When a woman goes to her GP for help, 75% of us will leave the GP's office without help because the doctor doesn't know what to do, doesn't associate it with menopause. Again, things are changing, or is going to refer to gynecology, which could be a year. And again, that's a crapshoot. So I have another story, another patient story to share here. This happened a few years back, actually. A patient of mine is, I talk to my female patients about menopause and hormones, even if they're postmenopausal, we have the conversation. And I asked this patient if she had ever taken HRT. And she said, "Oh, I asked my doctor for it." And his response was, "That's the bitch pill. Why would you want that?" Yeah, I know. Isn't that so? It still shocks me to this day to hear that, really, because, that's the sentiment. Okay. So there's a massive gap in care for women at midlife. Chances are, if you're here, you know that. Okay, you may have heard me interview Andrea Donsky on the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. She's come on twice to talk about her research. She gathers data. She's a Canadian, she's in Ontario, and she sends out surveys to women on her website. Please go to her website. Sam's going to drop those in the chat. It's wearemorphous.com. You can fill out several different surveys. And this is what Andrea does. She compiles this data. And my favorite paper that she has compiled is the 103 symptoms associated with perimenopause. Okay. Keep in mind, the gynecologists are saying only hot flashes count. Okay. So let's read through these top 10 of the 103 on this slide. Number 1 is fatigue, lack of energy. Brain fog is number 2. Sleep issues, number 3. Memory loss and forgetfulness is number 4. Anxiety, joint pain, lack of concentration, lack of focus, hot flashes, and loss of or low libido. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I can super duper relate to pretty much everything on this list here, right? So what I want you to see is that hot flashes are number 9. And actually, recently talking to Andrea, she said it's dropped down to number 11 now. She continues to interview women since she published the paper. So she's taking this to the Menopause Society in the United States. She's been a poster presenter at the last 2 gatherings of the Menopause Society. So she's challenging what traditional medical thought is on what the symptoms of perimenopause, et cetera, are. So look at this list and recognize that 9 out of 10 of these things are brain-based. Really, the only one that isn't is joint pain. And if you know brain really well, you know that there's even an argument that that could be considered brain-based. So if we think that the help we have available now is thinking that the only thing associated or worth treatment of in the perimenopause transition is hot flashes, we're hooped. For every woman that has had depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, loss of identity, loss of purpose, loss of focus, loss of concentration, etc., this is menopause. It's not being diagnosed properly. And the help for it is a very different thing. Okay, let's define some terms here. So we're talking the same language. So premenopause is regular menstrual cycles and predictable hormone patterns. That is your peak fertile years, where estrogen goes up and comes down, progesterone goes up and comes down, etc. You ovulate, etc., etc. So starting at about the age 35, we have perimenopause. Now, perimenopause's length is hotly contested, if you will. Some say it's 4 to 8 years. Some say it's 10 years. I can tell you that the brain changes. The renovation of the brain that happens at perimenopause can be 20 years. Now, the good news is, by the time you realize your brain is in it, you're already well into that 20-year period, okay? So there's lots more to be said about brain health at perimenopause, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So perimenopause starts between 35 and 45. It typically starts as I'm not sleeping as well as I used to. I can't elevate my mood the same way I used to. Can be, we notice the changes in metabolism. Our pants are tighter than they have been before. We have shorter menstrual cycles. That means we bleed for the same number of days, but the number of days between bleeds is shorter. We can get heavier menstrual cycles. We can have clotting during that time like we've never had before. These are the signs of perimenopause. And again, this is when those 103 symptoms begin. The farther you get into perimenopause, the closer you get to menopause, the louder these symptoms become. So a 10-year physical transition with the brain needing longer for transition, approximately 20 years, is sort of what I've come to recognize. Some women, it's much shorter than that. But what we know for sure, and the data shows us, in terms of the brain recovery, now keep in mind, we thought menopause was an ovary thing. It's brain and ovaries together. And so when those two things are working together, this is when you get the onset of menopause, the symptoms of menopause. It's what's called ovarian senescence or ovarian aging. At the same time, the brain is doing a renovation. And I'll explain more about that renovation here shortly. Okay, 12 consecutive months without a period means, hooray, you're menopausal. And everything after that point is postmenopause. So some say menopause lasts the rest of your life. Some say postmenopause is the rest of your life. I tend to use those two things interchangeably because we are living longer. That is 40% of our lifetime. So let's have it be of quality. So let's talk about what a menopause doula is. A menopause doula provides education and emotional support. She helps her clients understand their symptoms and make informed choices about care and lifestyle. She acts as a liaison and advocate, helping women communicate effectively with healthcare providers. And let me tell you, I'm here to say every healthcare provider, just about everyone, has been grateful that somebody else is watching and helping. So this is one of the things I teach my doulas is how we can communicate with other healthcare providers to get the care we need. Because if 1 in 5 gynecologists can't do what needs to be done, what if me as the menopause doula, I'm providing pre-data to that gynecologist and saying, I think this is what's going on. Most of the time they are happy for the help. These are some overworked folks for sure. Okay. A menopause doula offers practical tools for common symptoms of menopause. She fosters a safe and non-judgmental space for women to share their experience, and she works alongside medical or allied health professionals. I'm going to introduce a framework to you here shortly, and this is the framework I have created for myself as the menopause doula and how I look at the people that are coming to me or the women that are coming to me for help during menopause. A doula supports, educates, and advocates. Those are the most important things. You don't need to be a healthcare provider or have a healthcare background to be a menopause doula. You just need heart, curiosity, and a desire to support women. And I'm going to guess that many of you here have in your own way heard the call to help women just as I did. The phone rang and I answered the call. Thank goodness. Okay, this is the Menopause Doula Matrix. And there are 8 pieces, 8 foundational pillars, if you will, to support a woman in menopause and perimenopause. And they make up the landscape of a woman's health at this time. So we're going to start right at the top with hormone health. And unfortunately, this is oftentimes where the conversation starts and stops for women at perimenopause and menopause. So we want to make this a more robust conversation, let's say. We have estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, and cortisol all doing very different things when we get to perimenopause. As far as DHEA and cortisol go, those are adrenal hormones. And by the time most women I know get to recognize that what's going on is perimenopause somewhere in their early 40s, they're exhausted. So cortisol is low. And when cortisol goes low long enough, DHEA also goes low. Those are, as I said, adrenal hormones. We also have the thyroid hormones and something called thyropause, which is the decline of thyroid function and the thyroid hormones at perimenopause. Very, very misunderstood. Okay, let's talk about estrogen first. So in the early portions of perimenopause, estrogen is fluctuating high and it's low, and it's high and it's low, and it's high and it's low. And it's just all over the place. Now, for those of you in the room that have been through this phase of perimenopause before, myself included, I thought I was going batshit crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. I didn't know whether I was going or coming, nothing. And I I remember my husband one day, bless his heart, he's a smart man. We were having words about something and he was on his way down the stairs and I was standing at the top of the stairs warbling about something. And he said, "Have you noticed we have this same conversation every month at the same time?" I'm like, "Son, you best be lucky that you are farther than a head and arm's width away." He was smart enough to be halfway down the stairs when he said that, but it woke me up. It woke me up. And that's when I really started to realize that I was being essentially hijacked by my hormones. And this is me as the quote unquote menopause expert, right? So for a woman that has no interest in healthcare, she is completely in the dark going, am I losing my mind, right? Okay, so estrogen is fluctuating high and low, and then once we get into the later parts of perimenopause, so mid 40s to mid 50s, there's an estrogen cliff you drop off of. And that's a terrible experience too. And I found for me, it was just, I lost the interest in life. Like it just disappeared. And I've had many, many patients tell me something similar, their own version of that. And I want us to really become aware of the estrogen cliff, because the highest suicide rates for women are women in their 40s and early 50s. And that is a travesty as far as I'm concerned. So I won't stop talking until every woman is cared for in this era, because we cannot lose wise women. We cannot. The world needs us so, so badly, so badly. So we fall off the estrogen cliff. We wonder if we're losing our minds. At the same time, we have progesterone starting a slow decline from the end of the 30s until we stop bleeding. And the first way that shows up is we now all of a sudden have anxiety that we never had before, or it's worsened, or ADHD symptoms can show up at this time because we can no longer mask. If you are ADHD or somehow neurodivergent or know someone that's neurodivergent, you'll understand that terminology. Also, we lose our sleep. So progesterone is necessary for sleep. And so this is when we start to not be able to sleep through the night, is typically how it shows up. Although later on, and depending on what cortisol is doing, we also can have troubles falling asleep. So it's sleep maintenance versus being able to sleep initiate. And then testosterone also does a slow decline, like progesterone. And that is our muscle mass. It's our bone strength. It is our confidence. And we're really now just starting to properly understand the importance of testosterone for women. Unfortunately, we've genderified hormones. And so we think, well, that's a man's hormone. We don't need that. Oh, we very much do. Yes, we very much do. And we have lots of it. In fact, it is the most abundant circulating hormone in a cycling woman. It's not estrogen, it's testosterone. And I think that's important to remember. Okay, so pillar number 2, I have to keep myself in check. Otherwise, I'll ramble on about all of these things all day long. So pillar number 2 is sleep. And it's, as I've said a few times now, this is one of the first places we see changes at perimenopause. And the learning here for my doulas in training is about temperature control. It's about the HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. It is circadian rhythms. It's cortisol and how they affect rest. So, module 3 is one of those topics, genital urinary health. This is something we've had huge advancements in just even in the last 12 months. We're actually properly looking at what happens to the delicate vaginal tissues, bladder and bowel tissues, pelvic floor, etc., sexual well being of a woman's physical self, which then translates to psychological self as well. And we call this the genital urinary syndrome of menopause, or the GSM. And really, it's the urologists, it's the female urologists that are pushing this conversation forward. Many of them that you can learn from if you follow their podcasts, etc. So what we do as doulas is we offer a safe space to talk about incredibly uncomfortable subjects. The tabooist of the taboo subjects are, I don't feel like having sex ever again, and when I do, it hurts, and I pee myself when I sneeze, or worse. And this, even though I talk to women about menopausal issues, and I like to think I create a very inclusive space. Literally, you can walk into my treatment room and we can talk about anything. Like, nothing is off the table. And for those of you that know me and have been in that situation, you can speak to that if you wish. But we can talk about anything. And even that, I don't hear about this one very often. So we're just content to pee our pants for the rest of our lives and stay quiet, just like our mothers did, just like our grandmothers did. Okay, not on my watch. The number one selling SKU at Costco, you guys, is Costco's branded Depends. So this is, I know, I thought it was the toilet paper. I figured, or the chickens. The chickens are pretty good too, right? Anyways, so this is a big issue. There's not space for it. Lots of times, women leave that subject for their doctor to talk to their doctor about as the very last thing, but the doctors are so rushed and they don't want it. They're so uncomfortable with it. They just go, oh, it's fine. I'll just live with it, kind of thing. Yeah, there's so much that can be done. There are inexpensive corrections for this. Pelvic floor physios are contributing to this field in an incredible fashion. There's just so much to be said about the genital urinary health of a woman at perimenopause and menopause. Ladies, can we talk about energy for a minute? I know so many of you tell me you're trying everything, the supplements, the workouts, the sleep hacks, but you're still feeling tired, foggy, or just off. I get it, because I've been there too. Here's what I've learned. True energy starts way deeper than we think. It starts in our cells. And as we navigate perimenopause and menopause, our cellular energy naturally declines. That's where Timeline's MitoPure gummies come in. These are the first ever longevity gummies powered by MitoPure, the only clinically proven form of urolithin A. What I love about them is that they're not just another supplement promising a quick fix. They actually work at the cellular level to improve your energy at the source and help with strength and endurance. In clinical studies, they increased muscle strength by up to 12% after just 16 weeks. Urolithin A works at the cellular level to improve energy at the source by transforming cellular damage and targeting a key hallmark of aging, helping to give you sustained energy to feel like yourself again. It's recharging your cellular batteries to combat the natural decline in energy production that happens as we age. These gummies are a game changer. They're sugar-free, naturally sweetened, and actually taste good. I keep mine right on my bathroom vanity so I remember to take them every morning. If you want to feel like yourself again and stay strong as you age, you need to try MitoPure gummies. My friends at Timeline are offering 20% off just for the listeners of the Not Your Mother's Menopause podcast. Head to timeline.com/lovely20 to get started. That's timeline.com/lovely20. Your cells will thank you. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to pick a favorite child, but of course, brain health and the brain health pillar is probably my favorite. They're all my favorite. Okay, the most misunderstood part of the menopause transition without a doubt. We literally just have research in the last few years that has explained to us what is happening to a woman's brain at perimenopause. And this one's near and dear to my heart because I had a mother pass of dementia and a grandmother with Alzheimer's. And my interest in brain health is personal. And the year of COVID, I remember that summer, I said to my husband, I said, I think I'm early dementia. Like, I can't remember a thing. I don't feel like my brain is attached to my mouth at all. Like, what is happening? It was an incredibly stressful time for all of us. I don't know anybody who was having a good time then, but I learned a lot. So I did what I usually do, which is dig deep and figure it out for myself and then share it with others. And what we know is that there is a brain renovation that happens where women's brains are deprived of the fuel we are hardwired for, which is estrogen. Our brains are hardwired for estrogen. So when it goes away, the brain is essentially starved for fuel. And we wonder why we have brain fog, forgetfulness, we lose words, etc. For most of us that have been diagnosed mild cognitive impairment, it's related to our hormones more than it's related to anything else. Okay? So there's so much that we can learn and help with here that is really, really important. The other thing that happens is we don't use glucose the same way in our brains. Our networks are paring back. So we start to lose the connections or the neural networks that make up brain function. So there's a whole pile of things that are happening all at once. I just interviewed a guest for the show on mitoquinol or mitoquinol, which is a substance, an antioxidant that can actually help with women's brain function at midlife. Some of you may have heard the episode. And she said what happens is we start to consume our own white matter. Oh my God. So a woman's brain loses fuel and we start to consume our own white matter. And if you heard me in the episode, I was like, what? Say that again. I've never heard that before. So she sent me the papers now, which it's quite something, but at least we have the data. The data is piling up. All right. So how do we prevent this? We give the brain the fuel that it needs. This is the argument for estrogen early. We never want the brain to lose the fuel that it needs. Now, for those of you here in the room that maybe yourselves are long past your last menstrual period, but you haven't started HRT and you don't even know where to go to get it, like this is the thing. Start the conversation with your GP, figure out where it goes from there. Okay? Anyways, 20-year brain renovation. Here's the data. We have data that shows within 4 years of the last menstrual period, a woman recovers all function of her brain. It's all there. And here's the interesting part. It's a perception problem because we feel like we're not functioning the way that we should. But actually, when we're tested, we function just as well as we always have. Isn't that so interesting? We are resourceful, even inside ourselves. Now, this is happening to the background of we're at the peak of our career. We might have kids that have left home and gone off to school. And now what do I do with my time? Maybe we've got parents that are aging. We've got communities that are needing support. And we are not the way we would like to be. This is what happens to a woman's brain at perimenopause. And thank the goddess, we are at least now talking about it. So it is my hope and mission that by the time my nieces get to perimenopause, there's no question anymore about whether or not we need support and how we go about doing that. Okay, moving on, because I'll talk about brain all day. Emotional health. Okay, they're kind of tied, right? Brain is the hardware, mind is the software. The emotions we think are in the mind, but the truth is they could be in your big toe, but that might be too much of a stretch for this conversation. So let me bring it back. So perimenopause and the fluctuations of hormones stir up old patterns, stir up identity crises, stir up loss of purpose and grief. Oh my God, the grief that comes with perimenopause. We know it's a loss of reproduction, certainly. But for those of us in North America, we value youth in women only. The wise women have all but disappeared. For those of you here in Canada, you know the story, of course, of Lisa LaFlamme, who was our national news network anchor for a very long time. She decided to stop coloring her hair. She went gray and they fired her. That was just in the last, I don't know, guys, was that even 5 years ago? Somebody can confirm that in the chat. So we still are valuing youth and youthfulness over wisdom. And I'm here to see the rising of the wise ones and accept my own induction into the wise era, if we're going to use that kind of terminology. Okay. When you recognize that the hormones give us biological impetus to be people pleasing, and then that disappears with the fluctuations of hormones, and then the drop off of hormones, all of a sudden we look at our partners and go, do I still want to be with you? Who is this guy? We look at our family dynamics. We look at our connections to our jobs and the things that we have loved forever. And all of a sudden, we don't resonate with them anymore. That's not always true, but it happens a lot. And again, where's the support for women in that? It's not bad. It's a transformation. It's a renovation. That's how we have to look at it. We have to have patience for it. We have to understand what's happening. My doulas guide their clients to a place of softness around this. To say, okay, so mother era's done. Good job. You did a great job. Now it gets to be about you. What do you want for your life at this point and going forward? You've got 40% of your life left. And for us Gen Xers and boomers, we're better resourced and smarter right now than we've ever been in our lifetime. So why aren't we having the best time of our lives? Because a lot of us are stuck in symptoms. So this is what we do. We share the light and we show the women where they are and we give them understanding, because when we have the science to understand why a woman feels a certain way, we can have far more compassion and patience, far more. That's what we're here to teach. Okay, spirit longevity. So this is essentially vitality and longevity conversation, which I'm just thrilled about, to be honest. And I feel this is bringing the longevity piece into the podcast in particular has been my own flex away from the mess and muck of perimenopause into, okay, next 40% of my life. All right, let's make it the best. And it's not just about extending a lifespan. It's making sure we are healthy while we live longer. Because who wants to live to 120 if you feel like shit while you're doing it? I don't. And I don't want to be peeing my pants while I'm doing it. So I best have pelvic floor of steel. You have to let me know, are there any pelvic floor therapists in the room today? Hopefully there's somebody here. Anyways, okay, the spirit and longevity piece. Yes, living longer and healthier. Again, purpose and what our desires are. We're going to talk about those things. And the end of hormonal hijacking means we get to let it be what it wants to be. We get to let our lives be now that we're not distracted by reproduction. Reproduction's great, but it's over. So we're moving on. Okay, metabolic health is the energy loss and weight gain that a lot of us experience at midlife. There's a lot talked about this right now. I mean, how many of you, raise your hands if you're all optimizing protein right now? Oh my God. I'm eating more protein than I ever have in my life. Which, you know, I love it because we're not only going to get wise, but we're also getting strong. And that's awesome. So they're not seeing us coming for sure. Okay. Insulin resistance is a part of perimenopause as well, and that's why we can have the weight gain, etc. And ultimately, it's changes to our fuel system. That's not only brain, but it's in the cell. It's the cellular fuel as well. And finally, physical well-being is the bone, muscle, joint, tendon, intervertebral disc, ligament health. What we now know as the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause. Raise your hand if you've experienced one of these three things as part of your perimenopause. Frozen shoulder, heel pain, buttock pain. Exactly. I've had all three. Exactly. Exactly. So frozen shoulder is often the first thing that shows up to signal perimenopause is starting. It tends to show up in the last few years of 30 somethings, okay? Although it can really show up at any time. And it's not a fun experience. So within physical well-being, as I said, we talk about the musculoskeletal syndrome of menopause, bone, muscle, and joint health, movement, stress management, breath work are all part of this module. And I do want to talk a little bit about dysregulated nervous systems because there is lots of discussion about this. So, dysregulated nervous systems. We just live in an incredibly stressful society, and there's a lot of our communities and culture that is dependent upon women to be healthy and carrying the load. And that is an incredibly dysregulating thing. Now, what does that mean? It means that your nervous system cannot react to the environment in a way that you potentially would like to have to experience. Okay. And that's your kid says something to you when you get home from work and you blow up at them, or your husband walks in the room and you're like, do not even look at me. Just turn around and walk right back out. You see, when I was younger, I would have explained myself, but not anymore. He probably knows the look on my face. He'd be like, oh, I'm out of here. Anyways, my long-suffering husband. So this is an important thing to consider, and it is work that I do with my patients in my office. And so nervous system regulation is going to be baked into every single one of the framework pieces of the Menopause Doula Matrix. We are going to be teaching women how to restore a sense of calm and peace if at all possible. Of course, trauma can get in the way of that. And that's why we have excellent mental health professionals that are part of our referral network. That's part of the teaching of the Menopause Doula certification. And being able to communicate to those healthcare providers what you think might be helpful is a big part of what I teach in the certification. Okay, what have I got up next for you? The matrix is our framework, but our desire to help is personal. And as I've said here a little bit earlier, it's my hope that if you're here, you have felt called to be of support to women. Frankly, we need an army and we need women trained to help other women because we cannot rely on the things that we thought we could. And if you have felt the gentle pull towards this work, I'm here to show you what it looks like. I'm going to ask you to watch the replay, take some notes if you will, share it with somebody who you think could benefit from it. And of course, please join me for the next session. The next session is next Wednesday at 10, so it's 2 hours earlier, 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And in that session, I am going to show you what the Menopause Doula certification looks like. You've seen the matrix now. You'll see behind the scenes to see what the educational piece looks like, the pre-recorded videos. We have there's just so much stuff to share. I'm super excited to share it with you. This is a baby I've been working on birthing since 2020, you guys. So let's just say she's crowning. Okay. And in that session, I'll talk about the Menopause Doula certification dates, the sessions, the portal, whatever. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you to Sam Smith, who has been running my business and making sure everything was taken care of and making sure you were all welcomed into the room and running my playlist. And I changed this morning. I was like, I want Taylor Swift to be my walk-on song. I thought it was going to be Lady Gaga, but next time it might be Lady Gaga. Just pretend that you're excited and didn't already know that was coming. So I want to say, tending to self and teaching others to tend to self is an act of resistance against the systems that want us frail and demented and not able to share our wisdom. Supporting women in menopause is revolutionary, and I'm here to lead you. So before we close, if we could just take, yes, Karen, I saw that. I saw the fist bump. Yes. I love enthusiasm. I love it. Okay, let's take 3 more breaths together just to close the circle as we step back from the hearth, from the gathering today. One hand on your heart, one hand on your lower abdomen. I want you to breathe in through the nose for the count of 4, out through the mouth for the count of 8. In through the nose for 4, out for 8. One more. In for 4, out for 8. Thank you. Thank you. If you need to get a hold of us, you can email us at admin@drlovely.com. Sam will be sending out the replays later this afternoon, and you'll get a few more emails through the week just to remind you to watch the replay and take notes for yourself. And there will be an opportunity for questions the next time we meet. So, sisters, thank you for joining me today. I couldn't be more privileged to be in your company. So, thank you. Bye, everybody. The information and other content provided in this show, or in any linked materials, is not intended and should not be construed as medical advice, nor is the information a substitute for professional medical expertise or treatment. We are doctors, but we aren't your doctor. Seek your doctor's opinion. If you or any other person has a medical concern, you should consult with your healthcare provider or seek other professional medical treatment. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something that you have heard in this podcast or in any linked materials. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The opinions and views expressed on this page and in this show have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, health practice, or other institution. Thank you.